Greetings, Goddess Body Mind Spirit community. This is your Goddess Guru, Tyra Omilade, here to share a word of inspiration with you on your path to self-realization and self-mastery. How are you doing out there? Is everyone doing well? Greetings to this day. This is December the 5th. Can you believe I'm doing 2 live streams in a row? But I recently, our friend April the astrologer, for the last couple of months, she's had really hard times, and her father has recently passed. And so I saw that she had made, not an official announcement, but those of us who are following her, we know her father's passed, and I even confirmed it with her. So April, if you see this, I am so sorry. And anyone who's watching this who is fresh and new to the passing of a loved one, I'm going to share my story, so you can decide if you want to watch today or tomorrow, or down the road. I wish that somebody had done something like this for me after losing my mother. And so this video is for anyone who wants to know more about just my perspective on death and dying, which I think some of it is related to what I learned from what hospices share, and also sprinkling in my spiritual view. Many of you know or have seen me make other videos where I say that sometimes I share things because I am doing my best to leave some type of paper trail so that if I die before my children, which I hope and pray I do, that they will be able to come back and look at these videos, or if I am blessed to have grandchildren or my nieces, my nephews, my young cousins, if they're looking for a word and maybe wondered, what did that old chick think? They'll have these videos. So part of this is for that, but also I'm sharing because I think that we don't talk enough about death and dying in this culture. And I think the more we talk about it, it doesn't necessarily lessen the pain, but I don't know. I just think there's something beautiful about a culture that embraces death. And we are so disconnected from it that, I remember reading maybe in Daughters of the Dust. I can't remember what it was that I was reading, but I have read several things that I think about it, where back in the day, the old people would say, well, it's time for me to go. All of us, I'm pretty sure this was Daughters of the Dust. We're all going to go and everybody meet, everyone comes from their respective places because this is going to be my last time being at, I'm just saying it this way, the family reunion. So everybody come on, make sure you get there. And while I'm there, the old person who had made this announcement that this was it. It was time for them to go. They knew it. They could sense it. They would share wisdom with the family. They would tell the family, whatever wisdom they wanted to share with the family. The matriarch, the patriarch. My mother-in-law told me that her mother-in-law knew it was her time to go. And she was sitting at the table, I think with my mother-in-law, and said something to the effect, well, maybe it was 2 or 3 things that she wanted. And she said, well, I've got all 3 of them now. And I think it was that night, Mama Lucy, she passed. Westry was her maiden name. Lucy Westry, out of North Carolina. Anyway, we don't see that all the time. My mother knew she was going to die. Now, my mother had cancer. So it just had progressed to that point. But months before my mother passed, she said, I want to talk to you about some things. I was only 26, 27 at the time. I want to talk to you about some things because she knew she was going to die. She knew it. And she had been trying to come to terms with it and everything. It was one of those situations where she had cancer. It was gone for a number of years. It came back and it just progressed. No matter what kind of treatment she got, the cancer was going to come back. It was breast cancer. It, was very aggressive. And so it was really at that point. I remember Christmas of 96. you know, my mother was very fair complected for an African American, and she looked white as cotton. She was just very pale. She was so sick. She would tell me where she could see the cancer on her, you know, like on her body, and they would go radiate it off. She was a nurse, so she had excellent medical care, especially given, you know, the insurance that my dad had via the military. But anyway, you know, so she would go and get it radiated off or whatever. It was so hard. It was really hard. And I knew she was telling the truth, but I wasn't ready. And that's one of the things that I encourage us all to do. We have to come to terms with when we are given that opportunity, when we see our loved one, that they're making their way out. See, this is my perspective. Everyone needs an exit. We have an itinerary. The day we are born, this is what EFI teaches, and it makes sense to me. So this is what I subscribe to, because I want something that makes sense. If something else replaces it, fine. But right now, this is how I see it. I have my ticket where I arrived. That's called the date of birth. Peace. Hey, I owe you a text. How you doing, Kwanubian? Y'all know I'm always going to speak to Kwanubian. She's here. The jewelry maker, butterfly. Is it not? It's not butterfly earrings. Tell me the name of it, Kwanubian. Butterfly. Hold on, y'all. I need Kwanubian to tell me the name of her jewelry business. I'm going to keep it in my... That's it. Butterfly ear. Butterfly ear. Okay, so... in Kwanubian, I'm talking about a sensitive subject. I don't know if... Did you just chime in? Well, you see the title. So just know, because I know you're a little sensitive in this area. We can relate. That's my bolster back there, y'all. I'm trying to get back into my yoga. Anyway, okay, good. I believe that we come here with our ticket that says this is when you arrive, and it has on the ticket date of departure. Now, EFI teaches we can shorten our trip here into this space-time continuum. But once that date comes where it's time for you to leave, there's got to be some kind of way to make an exit. And so a lot of people, you know, I know they're making an exit with an illness. Some people make an exit, you know, with a car crash. Some people make an exit, you know, in coming down in an airplane, or, you know, oh my God, for the ones that make very traumatic exits, you know, there's rituals that we need to do for these people, you know, and this is another reason why it's so important. This is one of the things I love about EFI. It is that ancestral honoring, the working with the ancestors, because just like when a baby is born, we need to do ritual to help anchor that baby's spirit. In EFI, it's called an Esentaye. I guess I need to come up with a goddess tradition for that. But you want to anchor that baby's spirit into its body and the earth. And we want to do rituals, and, you know, the process of birth is somewhat shocking and traumatic. They're leaving one home, coming into a new home. And then, for the babies that are born in the USA, some of them have a rough start. You know, their head is pulled out with forceps, and we do cesarean births, which probably is more traumatic for the mama, but still, it's not necessarily like the normal way, though I believe every baby is born exactly how that baby needed to be born. I am a childbirth educator also, and I have learned some babies are going to come here to have a specific, well, all babies are having a specific birth process. That's just how it is. Even still, even more, we need to be doing rituals. You know how people will take their babies and get them blessed by the spiritual leader. People will do all kinds of things, you know, to honor this new baby. The same thing really needs to happen when people are dying. my mother probably would have really done better if we had all come to terms with it, but none of us wanted her to die. We were, all new to this or whatever. Now, my father had lost his mother before, but, he had not lost his wife before. Grand Rises, hey, how are you, Queen Trina B? So, finally we got to this point where we realized Mama was going to die. I remember I was home April. Like, my mother looked like she was going to die Christmas of 96. Thank you. Oh, love you, Trina. Gotcha. My mother looked like she was going to pass Christmas of 96. And I found juicing. And this is something we all maybe want to do to like keep ourselves healthy, is do the juices. You can use the, something like a Vitamix or an actual juicer. And someone had told me, give her fresh carrot juice. That fresh carrot juice brought so much life to my mother. We bought her a juicer. She was juicing carrots and all kinds of vegetables. And it brought so much life to her. She became normal. It was incredible. Her time wasn't up in December. It looked like it was. But that was what I call the shadow period. So Mama rebounds. We're doing everything. We're praying. I'm finding all kinds of natural healing methods. I was already supernatural and everything. But, we had to be careful with giving her herbs and vitamins, different things like that. So, definitely the juicing we could do. But I remember I found these books on some man who healed himself by laughing, because how do we heal our bodies? Through joy. We can heal our bodies literally through joy, happiness, shifting our consciousness in that direction of wholeness, health, vibrancy. And so, we had her watching all kinds of funny movies. We were doing everything. Her sisters came and they had a great time with her. It was like Mama got some things that she needed to get done. I think all of the sisters were there one time. This was like March or something like that. I wasn't living in Mississippi. I was living in Tennessee at the time. And so I came home to visit my mother in April at some point before she died. This was April of 97. And when I looked at her, that's when I started realizing this is not good. I wish so badly I had had the maturity. Almost brings tears to me now. To talk to my mother about what did she want to talk about? What did she want me to know? I just couldn't face it. I remember walking around. I was at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville at the time. And I remember walking around the campus thinking, I cannot imagine being in this world without my mama being here. I mean, she'd always been here with me, and just really trying to wrap my mind around, my mama is gonna die. I couldn't. So, but we had a great time. We went to visit my Aunt Selena and, but I could just look at my mother and I said, something's not right. That was the last time I saw my mother up moving around. As the weeks went, she declined. I was in Knoxville in graduate school, and she had insisted that I stay in school because I had sort of wanted to drop out of graduate school. And she said, oh, hey, H to the now. She didn't say it that way. My mama didn't really cuss. But basically that was her sentiment. Oh, no, you're not dropping out of grad school, baby. So I was at graduate school trying to finish up the semester. And she went into this stage where she had to have 24-hour care. So, thankfully I have my younger brother was there. He was helping. My dad was helping as much as he could because he was working. And we have an Aunt Maggie. And Aunt Maggie came and stayed with my mom for quite a while. And it got to a point where Mama wasn't talking. And that's when I was like, something's bad, wrong. One of the things I would recommend to people before your loved one gets sick, but if you have a loved one who has terminal illness, it is important to understand that death is a process and to educate yourself. And because I noted what was happening with my mother and saw what it led up to. Like, for instance, when it was my mother-in-law's turn, I started seeing the handwriting on the wall. My mother-in-law passed in April, but I saw back in January where this was going, because I saw her at Christmas and I knew this is it. It was just too much happening. She was just like my mom. It was like the cancer just kept coming back. It was progressing no matter what they did. She powered her way through Christmas because they love Christmas. Both my mama and my mother-in-law. Virginia is her name. And but I knew, I was like, this is not good. And so I started doing things to try to trigger me and my husband to go visit his mom more. And I remember when she got really down and out, but it wasn't quite at that point. I called my brother-in-law and I had this sound of panic, like, you need to come and check on mom, you know, because I know we get in denial. We get in denial. It's so hard when it's somebody who's significant. We can be in denial. And so if we can educate ourselves and begin to accept everyone has to take an out, then when it is that time for our loved one to move on, we can face it. We can face it. And we can talk to them before they get to that point where they're not talking anymore. And, you know, for the ones who didn't get to talk to their loved one, like I had a classmate. She was a couple of years younger than me, Portia Patton. She died in a car accident. There was no sickness leading up, and she was super young, you know. But I have heard even with them, because it is my belief that death doesn't come without a whisper, without a warning. I just don't believe it sneaks up. It for sure on the person. I believe we are respected enough by the universe, the universal setup, that we're given information. Your time is up. I'm coming for you. You know, you look at your ticket. Your expiration date, your departure date is coming. And so, you know, I remember seeing my mother-in-law. She was like in kicked up mode. She would be trying to do everything until she just couldn't. And so, you know, if we can know these things before it happens. So if you are one of the ones where something happens suddenly, like I mentioned last week, I had my husband's side of the family. There's a cousin. She died just like that. Just like her mama died, you know? And versus being, when you're giving that time, you know your loved one has got a very serious illness. It's not looking good. These are the times when it's important for us to really be real about it as much as we can. And it takes us being willing to do that. We don't live in a culture that has a healthy relationship with death. It's like the most horrible thing that can happen is death. It's not. It's the natural thing. It's natural to be born. It's natural to die. We're going to die. And really having this connection with death perhaps will make us live our lives a little bit differently. I really don't know when my time is up. I'm hoping and praying I'm right, that I will be given insight. I will be given that whisper, departure date imminent, whatever you want to do, tie up loose ends, you know. So right now I don't know when it's coming. I need to be doing some stuff. I need to be getting some stuff done. You need to be doing some things. You know, I used to wonder myself, why do I focus on death so much? Well, those of us who have a lot of Scorpio energy, we might be a little bit hyper focused on death. Not because we're afraid of death. It's just what we are. And so for me, I have the philosophy, I don't know when my last day is coming. I do not know. So I need to live every day as if it's my last day. That's part of my life's philosophy. And when people die, I get like shocked and reminded, especially when they're young, you know. So all right, Quanubian, you can relate to this. So we live every day as if it is our last day. Yes. Glad you said that. She said she still misses her mom, but she is well. Her mother died suddenly. So we live every day as if it is our last day, and death is not bad. So to finish up this story, I come home before the finals are over. I just had to take my finals early. My husband was in law school. He was rushing to take his finals too, to get home. And but he was in law school. I was in grad school. It was a whole different situation. So I finally make it back. This was the top of May. I look at my mother and I accept. This is it. Mama is about to die. I just accepted it. And I knew it was imminent because I hadn't talked to her in weeks. The last time I had spoken with her, the only thing she could say is, come home soon. That was it. I get there, Mama's not talking, but you can see the death process. So like the death process started for my mom when the person has an illness. It starts, months in advance, actually. Cornubian, with your mom, did y'all see, are you saying that y'all saw something was coming since she passed suddenly? Did you see signs? Did you get whisperings? Did you have a sense that something was going to happen? And so it's a process. It's something I encourage you. I remember looking at, like, I think a documentary on Netflix. And this documentary talked about the process of death. Even once that person breathes their last breath, there's still processes and consciousness in the body, all that kind of thing that happens. It takes a little while for people to die, especially when they have chronic illness or terminal illness. And I feel like sometimes the ones, it was one or two things, but I feel like it's a gift when you go through a terminal illness with your loved one, because it gives you that time to ponder. You see them slowly but surely. Okay. Wow. She said no. She was sick for a little bit. She had a cold and then she passed. It was very sudden. And so for me, for those of us in the land of the living, when our loved one, we know our loved one is going to die, is a gift. 'Cause sometimes we can't take it, and so we get that time leading up to when they're going to die. And they get so miserable. If they have cancer, they get so miserable. You're just like, I let you go. I let you go. I don't want you to suffer anymore, But by the same token, sometimes I think the way people die is just like I described the birth. It happens the way it needs to happen. So for somebody like Quanubian, whose mother died quickly, maybe the mama was like, first and foremost, I don't want no death where I'm dragging it out. She may have had private conversations with her. I'm not doing that terminal illness thing. When I die, I just want to die. I just want to go to sleep, go to sleep one night and not wake up. There's a lot of people that say that. You're like, no. So you may not get that chance. The shock comes all at once instead of over time. Either way, it's torture for those of us in the land of the living. Either way, it's torture. But I was there with my mom for the last few days. I probably got there like on the 5th and she died on the 8th. And that's a blessing. And all of us will be where we have decided we want it to be. Okay. So Quanubian was saying that the way it happened the way it needed to happen, which she wasn't there because she would have lost it and caused some chaos. So that's a good point. That's the point that I'm making right now. Very good point. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. We are where we're supposed to be. My mother-in-law said that her mother-in-law did not want my father-in-law at the hospital when she passed. And she had been holding on and holding on. He had been there for the longest time. He leaves And when he left, shortly thereafter, she passed. People, when they are dying, they're not just lying there. There is a process. They still have free will, and they will do it the way they want it to happen. I am fortunate that my mother was okay with me being there. I never thought I could take being with my mama. The moment I saw my mama breathe her last breath, I was the one who was sitting right there talking to her. Another thing that happens with the terminal illness, and some people may roll it out like this, like my mother was young. She was 50 when she passed. And so the people in the hospice were saying it's hard on the young ones when they're dying. They don't really want to leave. You know, all of us were grown, but we were still young. We hadn't yet had children. 2 of us were married, didn't have children. You know, my younger brother hadn't yet graduated from college. And so, and then of course, you know, there was my mother and my father's relationship. And so they need to slowly let go of all of it, you know, and they're still working through things as they die, as they let go. And you talk to them and, you know, they hear us. They know what's going on. Even though I could look at my mom and tell she was otherworldly. I could tell she was literally talking to people on the other side because she was sort of doing it. One time she woke up and she said something, and she even said one time, "I don't want to die." So she was really working through it. So when I was talking to her, this was May 8th, I said to her, because the people in the hospice were like, she's holding on because they want you to let her go. Now I'm going to tell y'all something I cannot stand when people say this, but it's true. Sometimes people will get what's called the death rattle. Oh my God. It's a sign. If you see that, it's a sign. When I hear it, if I see somebody's loved one and they haven't picked up on it, I'm not saying nothing. I might really be like, oh, you really need to stay here, you know, dropping some serious hints. But I don't like talking about the death rattle. But my mother had it because she was, you know, she was making herself breathe, and it makes this weird noise, like a little rattle, I guess you could say. And so they knew she was holding on. And they said, she needs y'all to tell her you're going to be okay. Well, nobody did it. Money and his wife, my brother and his wife, they had to go somewhere. I can't remember where they went. And then my dad had been at work. He had come home because the hospice people had called him. We had some friends and family. It was as if the universe had sent a call out. Of all the days I was there, that was the day everybody decided to come and check on my mama. It was weird. And my aunt had told me explicitly, everybody can't go back there. Only specific people, like Father Joe, the priest, came. Miss Moore, our neighbor of like 20-something years, my mama's friend of 20+ years, came over. They went back there with mama. Some of her friends from work. After she passed, Dr. Annan had come over along with Aunt Selena. I mean, it was just like a word had gotten out to everybody's spirit. And folks were coming by, but the hospice ladies, they were like, we really need you to tell your mama goodbye. Well, they didn't say we need to. They said she wants you to tell her goodbye. So I went and told her I knew she was tired and that we were all going to be okay. I went down the list from daddy to my brothers and my sister-in-law, my husband, because we had no grandchildren at the time, where everybody was. And with that, she breathed her last breath. I felt so honored, and not in that moment. Now, I did yell out, "I love you, mama," because they said the hearing is the last thing to go. So my mother died with me yelling, "I love you, mama." Good for you, Trina B, because let me tell you something. She said she's not on the best terms with her mother, but wow. It taught me that once that loved one dies, almost whatever you know didn't y'all give me some good comments today. So Trina, for those whose moms are still here and you don't have the best relationship, I just say just accept your mom as she is. Not to say you're asking for this, but I have learned it's better just to accept. I had a friend, she was on horrible terms with her mom, and she was there for her mom when her mom passed. So good for you. And once that death is imminent, it's almost like nothing matters. Once you realize that loved one is on their way out. And that's why having that philosophy of live every day as if it's your last. Because then you'll treat everybody in a certain manner. You'll see things differently. I say to myself sometimes, if I knew I only had 6 months left to live, how differently would I live? You know? And yes, Kwanubian, she said her uncle said, I love you, I love you, I love you. It was like this chanting. This is what he chanted while he was in hospice on his way out. This is one of the things I love about hospice. If your loved one gets sent to hospice, it is good. They make death honorable. They give dignity to it, you know, and they will support us in, you know, and it just like a baby being born. That death is precious. It is no different from me. Maurice mentioned it's a chance for renew and recycle. And birth and death are it's one coin, two sides of the same coin. Yes, thank you, Trina. I see them as both precious. I was able to be way more available when my mother-in-law passed, because I'd already been down this path when she passed. And so when it was her time, and I knew this is it, I started recording videos of her like a year in advance. I started recording videos of her and things that she was saying. When it got closer to that time, I listened to every word she said. I cherished every moment. And I did everything I could to just be real with her. She did not want to die. She was 70 something. She was like, no, I don't want to go. But I honored her process as it was. And, you know, watching the family come to terms with it, it's very, very precious. It's precious. It's precious to see all the people who come when you have that opportunity. And this is why for people like Kwanubian's mama, when we don't know, when their way of going out is going to be quick and dirty, we need to say, I don't know when their last day is going to be. And so we go and we check on them. Because once they're gone, they are transformed. And this is, you know, part of my paradigm. I'm okay with death. Watching my mother pass is beautiful. Death is beautiful. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. To be there with my mother the moment she breathed her last breath, to hear Kwanubian saying, you know, the uncle, they chanted, I love you, I love you, I love you. He was chanting it too, if I remember reading that correctly. The spirit is infinite, the soul is forever. Our ancestors transform into new, and we still have that relationship with them. That's what I love about Ifa, or traditions that honor the ancestors. Our ancestors are transformed they go back to, you know, their infinite way of being, source. But they are still our ancestors. We still have that connection with them. And so this death and dying process is to a certain degree to help us prepare for when it's time, especially for these significant loved ones, when their ticket has come up and it's time for them to take this train up out of here. You know, it is important for us to honor that. If it's quick, if it's overtime, we want to honor it. And we want to make sure that we have a healthy mindset about it, because it'll help us. You know, we are human. We are in human form, and we are going to grieve. And so when it happens, it helps us better if we have done some things. You know, we were there for my mother. So we were all at peace when she died. When nobody had anything, we were all like, well, we were here. You know, so we didn't have to deal with the guilt. And we didn't have to deal with, like, I didn't know, you know, even though I know Kwanubian, yours happened fast, but your family was close. So it was not like, oh, I wasn't taking care of mama. You know, you were there for your mama. Y'all were together, a unit, a tight family. That's important. And it's important for us to make sure that if you have that loved one that's dying, the long, slow process, that, you know, you can do special things to make it special as time goes on. It's as special as a baby being born. It really is. And then, you know, we all have to have our ways of dealing with our loved ones passing. There is the process that we go through. You know, 2 to 4 weeks out, you're in shock. People were like, your mom passed. You just talking about this? I was in shock. I could just talk about it. Everybody around me is crying. I'm not crying. Then I think maybe within about 3 weeks, you know, the reality set in, and I'm crying. I mean, wailing. I was so fortunate that I had planned to come back to Mississippi and do my internship for my graduate degree. So I was there with my dad. How amazing was that? I was there for my dad, my younger brother. But, you know, all of us, you know, deal with it in different ways. And I went through bereavement support. I went to a bereavement support group at any hospice. More than likely you can go. You don't have to pay whether your loved one was there or not. And they helped me to understand what the grieving process was like. Like, mine will be different from yours. I can stop it if I want to. Ah, that's beautiful, Kwanubian. I can stop my grieving if I want to. I can get it going. You know, I have permission to be sad. I can tell people I don't want to be happy today. I've seen people, I teach Zumba. I've seen Zumba instructors go and teach a lot of Zumba. That was just their way of dealing with it, you know. April is already back doing videos. She is so passionate about astrology. I thought to myself, this is what brings her happiness and joy. And she even said it helps her to forget about, you know, just, it's very stressful when you have a terminally ill loved one. So you need something to sort of forget the previous few months. It could be years that it had been imminent. But anyway, when it's really close, it's so intense and hard. You know, you almost feel like you're shell-shocked. But going back to what Maurice said, having a paradigm of understanding, I don't believe they're gone away. My paradigm is that they have simply transformed back to where they came from. And because I am a part of a tradition, or I have embraced a tradition that honors ancestors, I just set up an ancestral altar, put my mama's pictures, and you only put, if you have an ancestral altar, you put pictures of your ancestors. Now, I'm going to believe if people are adopted, because I have children who have been adopted into my family through my brother and his wife, that they can put up our ancestors' family. We have integrated them. And if they decide they want to learn about their ancestors, I'll teach them about the ones that they don't know. But I say my ancestors are their ancestors. My mama, if she was here, those would be her grandchildren. There would be no differentiation between the ones that came through blood and the ones that came through adoption. There would be zero. So, you know, my father doesn't differentiate. So, you know, you only put your ancestors on that altar, and don't put any pictures of people who are alive on the altar. But having these rituals, so going back, really, we want to have special rituals for the one who dies. I encourage you to, first of all, write a eulogy for yourself, because, first of all, it'll give you perspective on what is it that you really want to accomplish in your life. But you can write one so that your loved ones will have it, you know, to read. Tell them what you want. I'm just being 100. I want to be cremated. I am a conservationist. I do not want a casket. And I don't want to be taking up space in the graveyard. Cremate my body and put it in the ocean. Or if my kids and my husband want to keep it in the urn, that's fine too. But everyone gets to decide how they want to do it. You know, people who are Muslim, there's no way they're going to be cremated. You know, back in ancient Egyptian days, they weren't, I put it this way, when it came to the royalty. Oh, you know what, Queen Trina B, my director of my nonprofit, her mother passed. I'm pretty sure they cremated her. I think they did. And she said they turned her into a tree. I'd say turned her into a tree, but they planted maybe her ashes at the base of a tree. I need to find out what happened, but there's someone who has done that recently. It happened this year, I think, or was it last year? And then there's this movie, musical. Oh, it's based out of Haiti. I can't think of the name of it. I'll try to get the name of it. But anyway, the main character died, and the Orisha were a part of this play, and they turned her into a tree. She died and buried her underneath a tree. She became this great big tree. Oh my God, I've got to remember the name of this play. But anyway, it was, this is why I love trees. I'm with you, Trina B. I might do that too. Thanks for the idea. So we want to have these special rituals. We want to do things special. I don't like it. Okay, cool. She said there are all kinds of fruit trees. You can turn your ashes into the tree. Boom. That's what I'm going to do, Trina. But these corporate people better not come and cut me down. I will cut them. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, that was a joke, y'all. Let's see here. Talking about rituals when people pass. I don't like it when we have these funerals. Like my cousin Israel passed. He didn't belong to a church. He didn't belong to a church. And the person who preached his eulogy didn't know him and turned it into y'all look at him. He died. Y'all better make sure y'all right with Jesus. I don't have a problem with Christian funerals and all that kind of good stuff, but the final rites should be about the person who's passed. We're trying to help that spirit make that connection from here to the other side, okay? And we should try to set it up so that we get a right connection made from here to the other side for ourselves. And then, we have to go through that process of healing. We have to go through that process of, sorry, y'all, I'm still a little congested from the other day, or from last week when I had that cold. We have to go through that process of transitioning. I call it getting used to that loved one not being here. We have to create our new life. It is literally an initiation for the person who has moved from this world back to the non-physical realm. It is an initiation for them. It is the ultimate initiation. We experience deaths that create new things in us, but that is the ultimate, besides being born. And then we, ourselves, the ones who are left here, we experience an initiation, and now we are new. Life without this person, things will shift and transform in the family dynamic and how we, operate. Like, if you're used to talking to this person at the same time every day, that's going to be hard. Every time that day comes and that moment comes and you forget, you run to the phone to pick it up. You're like, oh no, I had a very good relationship with my mom, so I know what it's like to lose somebody who you're really close to. I will say one of my friends who had a very problematic relationship with her mother, she was torn up after her mama died. I mean, this chick had a rough time. Really, Nina Soul? I have to check out that video. Is it on YouTube, Nina Soul? She said she had just shared a video about her father's passing. Yes, ma'am. The universe speaks to us. Okay, I'm going to look for your video. How recently has it been, Nina? So we have to get used to being with our, in this new world, adjusting. You cry whenever you realize, oh, this year? Well, my heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to you, and you can replay this. Oh, y'all show Nina some love. Her father passed just October the 4th. And I think that was another reason I made this video. This is the time of the year, and some of it sort of depends on what your traditions are. But this is the time of the year where people get, I mean, it's like, that's when I began to realize holidays are not fun for everybody. You see all the good pictures and we're going to do this and, you know, we're in the Christmas spirit. I wasn't in the Christmas spirit. My mother died a few days before New Year, Mother's Day. Before Mother's Day. And I hated Mother's Day. I wasn't a mom yet. Once I became a mom, before I became a mom, I really hated Mother's Day. And I never really celebrated Mother's Day until, you know, after my kids were a little older, and I was like, I do not want to give my kids a mental thing. But it was always so hard. Oh, Mother's Day. For those who have lost their dads. They don't like Father's Day. That's not a good day. You know what we're doing for those of us who've lost parents? You know. Okay. 1 minute cure book. I might have to come back to that. Maurice has posted something that we can all look at to help us with our health. So I'll have to go pull that comment back up because it went away too quickly. Anyway, we cry at the holidays. Christmas sucked. Oh, my husband's family, they are all about the holidays. My mother-in-law was just like my mama. Oh, let's do this for Christmas and cooking and cleaning and making gifts and eating pies and having family over. And I would be like this. I would go in the room, curl up in a ball. Oh, I miss my mama. Birthdays sucked. And the first year is the hardest year because it's like the first. You're going through everything the first. Your birthday might suck. I used to hate my birthday. Oh, my mama's not here, you know. And everyone will go through it in their own way. I've seen women lose their children and not lose their minds. I'm like, wow. My mother-in-law's grandma was one of those women. Someone shot and killed her son. She even knew who did it. Now, this was old school back then, you know. She said she just was a woman who just was like, I'm not going to report him. You know, probably God will take care of it. And, you know, she just lived through it. Another friend, she's a priestess, sister priestess of mine, and her son passed. And it was just, for her, maybe her spiritual understanding, I don't know, it gave her, she was peaceful. She did not lose her mind. I've seen so many different, another woman, her child was maybe 5 when he died because of her spiritual understanding. She did not lose her mind. I didn't know her at the moment, at the time that the child died. I saw it when it was announced in our group. She's a homeschooling mom. And then eventually I met her. I was like, oh, it's you. Like maybe within 2 or 3 months after her child dying, I think I would be on the floor for months. But she had a spiritual understanding. And I think it is that they know that this child is still with them. And I even pick up on people's ancestors sometimes. And I would pick up on that child for sure. That child was hanging around. Then she had another baby. And so I don't pick up on them as much anymore. Anywho, it's so many different ways and approaches. You have to have your own way of doing this. And always give yourself permission to tell people this is a bad day. I'm not having a good day. So if you don't want to be around me, then leave. That was something that really I struggled with. People not understanding my grief. Because sometimes I just feel like I'm the first. I'm always the first. I got to help people get through what I've already been through. And so, you know, people didn't always get how horrible I felt. And it was for years. And then as time went on, I started realizing like it would be starting around January. I started feeling in a funk. And, you know, it would go through my mom's birthday, my birthday. And then maybe top of February, because that was her birthday. Top of February, I started feeling a funk. Leading up to her birthday, I would feel in a funk at my birthday, and then I would feel in a funk at Mother's Day, and then I would be free. until Christmas. And then it got to a point where it was more like 2 weeks before I would start getting into a funk. And I would even be like, oh, well, okay, just 2 weeks before, you know, because I started getting back into life. And I knew my mama didn't want me sitting around crying like that. They don't like that. They don't want us doing that. They don't like us to be unhappy, even though they know we're going to have to be that way. And Ola Omi taught me, we got to cry for our ancestors. It helps to elevate their spirit. It lets the universe know this person did good work. What kind of ancestor do you want to be? You know, do you want to be that dark deceased where nobody wants to call your name? Or do you want to be that ancestor who can actually help? You want to be an ancestor who can actually help the people in the land of the living? Then you've got to be someone who does a lot of good work, which I can tell all of you are like that. And so when we cry for them, like, don't let nobody dry your tears. Yeah, I said that black style. Don't let nobody. Exactly, Nina Soul. Exactly. She has the proper, in my view, the universal understanding. It's all a new beginning, you know, and it's a part of life, and we are souls at the end of the day, and not these bodies. And so don't let anybody dry up your tears. It is good to cry for our ancestors. Okay. It is good. But they don't want us to not live our lives. They don't want us to be stuck in grief, not doing things, because they know we have a legacy that we need to live, that we need to do, that we need to be a part of, that's related to our family lineage. And so they want us up and working. And so, you know, I'm getting up, I'm doing more, I'm, you know, living my life, I'm going through my own process. And then it get to a point where I didn't even remember until I was right on that day, but I didn't think about it necessarily. I just would be feeling like super depressed, like, what's wrong with me? It's February 28th, it's Mama's birthday. Oh, okay, you know. And now I'm at a point where I think if I overwork myself, that's when I get a little weepy. But I'm at 20 years that my mother's been gone. And so, and the world is so crazy right now. Why would I want my mama to come back to this? As a matter of fact, you stay over there, mama, and you help us out over here. All right. You tell us what's going on. Give us some heads up. I got my ancestral altar up. And so, you know, I'm like, mama, show me the way. When I need my mama to show up, she'll show up to me in my dreams. Okay. And other people's ancestors will show up to me in my dreams, like my mother-in-law, because she knows I'm going to tell everybody, oh, I saw mom in my dreams last night, you know. And sometimes she does it because my husband's really upset and I'm not seeing it, because that joker, he can hide some emotion. But she knows when he's missing him. And so she'll show up in my dreams so that I can check on him or whatever. And so at 20 years out, I can say time heals. It's so cliche, but time heals. And, you know, even Nina, whose father only recently passed, is showing that you can develop a mindset. You also, Kwani, you can develop that mindset that helps you have perspective. You know, it gives us our opportunity to understand and relate to death, which is an energy. You know, when we pour libations in Ifa, one of the things we say is Kosi Iku, to avert death. You know, we pour these libations to avert death. But death is going to come, and it is okay to sit down and have a conversation every now and again with death. Death, what? You know, when I see the deaths, and the one I'm thinking about right now that just sort of has me torn up, and it might be controversial, but in my view, I think it happened. So I don't know what people believe. Some of us who watch my channel probably like, I don't even watch the news too much. Woo! Sometimes spirituality is all you have. Anyway, when I see these mass shootings, let me just say it that way. When I see these mass shootings, it's like, death, I need you to talk to me. Why? When I think about what happened in New York at 9/11, I'm like, I can't just see these people as victims. I can't. I think that everything, there's a bigger picture, a higher story behind everything. And so it is with those who are in our lives and then they transition out. There's a higher picture to it all. They were here, now they're gone. Why to all of it? Part of the thing I have to do is sit down and have a little discussion with death. Now, death don't stick around here too long. But I'm not going to be afraid of it. You take care, Quanubian. You're most welcome. I'm not going to be afraid of death. Death showed me, and those of us that subscribe to the Orisha Oya is all about death. You know, when we have a relationship with death, we don't want death to come and get us before our time. And so we want to live, you know, high. We want to have good moral character. We want to be doing the right thing in the right way at the right time when no one is looking. We want to live a life that's worthy of us getting to our entire, you know, making it to the end of our ticket. Making it to that specific time of departure. Okay? But you can best believe the more you talk to Oya and embrace this energy of death. And you know what? Maurice Momo is one of the ones that helped me to really grab onto this. That shadow, that darkness, not being afraid of it, it will transform you. It will teach you. Okay? So when we go through these things, there's a higher lesson. It's not easy. We are in our human form, and it is normal and natural to grieve. But I do think it's important for us to understand that the quicker we get to this place of really talking about death and embracing it, maybe we can be the generation to get back to when the old folks would say, well, everybody come on over. I'm not going to be here too much longer. I want to sit down and talk to you all about something. I want to share some wisdom with you. I want you all to know some things before you die. Come on, everybody. And everybody's like, well, you know, so-and-so said, grandpa said they're not going to be here. Auntie so-and-so, uncle so-and-so said they're not going to be here too much longer. Let's all go on over and talk to them. Let's go on over and see what they have to say and enjoy them because they're not going to be here too much longer. Can you imagine that? I hope and pray that's how I am. And I think it'll come from us doing our spiritual work and just really being in sync and in tune with our divine nature. We will know when that ticket shows up. So I appreciate all of the amazing comments. Let me see if I can find what Momo said. Where is it? Oh, here we go. So what he shared, for those who are not on the live stream, YouTube 1 Minute Cure Book. It's a PDF. Oh my gosh. And you can look for food grade hydrogen peroxide or oxygen therapy with a diluted solution of H2O2, hydrogen peroxide. I guess that's what that is, Momo. You can get rid of body cancers. So there's a natural remedy. And I am one of the ones of the belief, I'm conspiracy theorist, that they're hiding all kinds of, I know y'all can feel me though, I can just sense it. They're hiding all kinds of cures because that means that the pharmaceutical companies are not going to make all this money. So every natural healing remedy we can find, we need to use. If you're watching this and you or your loved one have cancer, I just told you what Momo said and that you can look up. So, hey, Momo, do me a favor and send me that so that I can post it in the description, okay? Don't y'all forget, Quanubian is with Butterfly Ear. She makes jewelry. You can look up on Facebook. And please like the video, share the video. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in this morning. This is way long, but it's a touchy subject. I can't fly through it. And it's my first time really talking about it in depth, I think, on YouTube. But I appreciate you for hanging in there with me. We are in Moon in Cancer. So we might be a little emotional today, but take this time to do nurturing things for yourself. That's what Cancer wants us to do. It wants us to nurture ourselves. Take it easy. Maybe do some hydrotherapy, sit in a nice hot tub, put your feet in some water, go swimming, go sit by the river, ocean. But if you need a reading from me, goddessbodymindspirit.com. Just hit the spiritual reading tab, and I would be more than happy to divine on your behalf. I do all sorts of readings. And so, yes, I would love that. And thank you all so much. Okay, hold on, y'all. I need to tell y'all. Nina said she's been called to Baba Luaye. He reminds me of my father. And Baba Luaye actually is, you know, it's powerful energy. Let's just put it that way. So awesome. And maybe, you know, it'll be interesting to hear what you learn from Baba Luaye. That will be very interesting. You are most welcome, Trina B. I appreciate you. Thank you all. Love you all. I wish you a great day, and blessings of the goddess be upon you. We are leading up to the winter solstice. So y'all, what are we doing? How are we embracing this sacred time? Make sure you do some spiritual rituals. And you know what? Let's just give some big ups to the ancestors. We give you thanks. Emoji by ancestors. Thank you for this sharing. I give thanks for everybody's ancestors who showed up here today. You are most welcome. Thank you, Nina. Love y'all. Peace.